Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, making my return back to RPG A Day 2020. I've actually caught up. It's day 4, and I'm doing day 4 video. And today's prompt is the word vision. So I wanted to take a very literal approach to today's prompt and talk about vision in game. That means the character's ability to see things. That means the NPCs or the monsters or creatures, their ability to see things. And the various conditions that can take place that will either obscure vision or completely remove a player character's or a monster's vision, whether it be in combat or just in traveling, throughout a complex that they might be traveling through, as well as, other, you know, less than complete loss of vision impairments that they might get from a critical injury. So having lost, perhaps one eye instead of both. And so what would be the impact of losing that depth perception, on the player character and how to go about role playing that and seeing how it affects that character's ability as they're going through their continuing adventures. So, when I started thinking about this and knowing that this is where I was going to go with this video, I thought in terms of a player character that's a thief character. When a thief character is walking through a complex, let's say we're in a goblin's lair, oftentimes the thief character will say, "Well, I'm going to move silently and I'm going to stick to the shadows. So I'm going to attempt to hide in shadows and move silently as I'm moving forward through this goblin lair." Now, you have to remember that the goblins live there. The goblins are most likely going to do exactly the same thing. They're looking to move silently and hide in shadows as well. And so you have both a player character who understands the concept of vision, but the player might not necessarily apply it to what they're thinking about. Like they're not really thinking it all the way through, and the GM might not be thinking about using vision or the lack of vision as a tool for creating challenges for the players as well. So it's since vision is the most important of the five senses, it's the one that we might think more often about as far as utilizing it from time to time. I'm just arguing that we should most likely use it more so and use it not in its extreme where there's total blindness, because that does come up in several situations. There could be a darkness spell cast over an area, or a character, a player character can be blinded by a spell, or in my case, my player character groups, my player group just loves to, blind their opponents. They're constantly looking. Well, I'll cast a darkness spell on his eyes so he can't see, or a continual light spell on his eyes to permanently blind him, or just a variety of ways that that they seem to utilize this tool. And it's not something that I have thrown back at them, generally speaking. So it's something that I myself need to implement this a little bit more. I did write and run one particular adventure where the entire party began with very limited senses. They were all poisoned, and they woke up in a in a cavern like place where they were just discarded, left for dead, and they were all blind, and they had muffled hearing because of the effects of the poison. They were vomiting, and they had a hard time just maintaining and controlling their movement. But the main issue that they wanted to fix was they wanted to find some way to restore their vision. That was their primary goal, was to search around and look for something to either wash out their eyes or find some kind of an antidote, or even create something that they needed to forage, and then their alchemist in the group would concoct you know a a remedy for their affliction. But it was the greatest of their challenges, was to overcome that blindness, and then later on, as it started to wear off in time by itself, just having the blurred vision or the lack of depth perception was a big challenge for them as well. So it's an opportunity for you to take and not just sight, but all of the five senses, and consider using them as as a hindrance to the player character party in doing what they're looking to do, or because they will certainly use it against their opponents. I've seen it, oftentimes. So yeah, also consider it, and consider that the inhabitants of a dungeon, or a lair, or whatever, are thinking the same things. They're thinking about vision as well. They're thinking about, well, I'm going to hide behind this drape, and then as a party marches by unawares, I'm going to pop out and fire my crossbow, or I'm a scout inside the goblin lair, and I'm going to stick to shadows, and I'm going to try to move silently, and make it where the player characters are not going to see me as easily, or not hear me as easily. So vision is a very important sense, and it's something that you should challenge your characters with, as far as limiting it, and creating circumstances where they're compelled to try to overcome that limited sight range by doing something else, perhaps climbing up a structure in order to be able to see beyond a physical barrier to their vision, or like I said, it's just you know perhaps it's magical, and so the first thing they're going to have to do is try to figure out a way to dispel that magic blockage of their vision, to allow them to continue moving forward. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to try to keep these kind of short, and if you have anything to say, maybe a way that you use vision in your game, I'd love to read about it. So leave a comment there in the section. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I will try to keep up with putting out these videos on a fairly regular basis. I'm not quite sure I'll get one every single day, but I will eventually try to catch up by the end of the week, and start off each week on the right number. So tomorrow's word will be tribute, and I'll see where I go with that. And once again, thanks for joining. I hope you enjoy these videos, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. You'll have a great rest of the afternoon. Take care.